Britain is slated to leave the EU on the 31st of October, with or without a deal. But, and there is also one country in Asia, though, that is preparing for that departure. It is South Korea. The two countries have signed a free trade deal ahead of Brexit. Ollie Barrett explains the agreement in principle.
It is not effective immediately. The idea is that this is an agreement that has been reached in principle, with both sides saying that they aim to ratify it before the end of October. October the 31st is the date that Britain is currently due to leave the European Union, whether there is a deal in place or not. And so both sides are saying that they hope to have it ratified by then to minimise any potential disruption to trade. In terms of what it covers, it effectively broadly mirrors the existing deal that South Korea has in place with the wider European Union, but Britain making sure that the parts which relate to it can be rolled over into a British-South Korean trade deal after the end of October this year. So issues like automobiles, parts for ships, shipping, which the South Koreans export to the UK, and also vice versa. The South Koreans import cars from Britain. They also import a certain amount of crude oil as well. So for most of those areas, zero tariffs will remain in place under the terms of this deal, assuming it is ratified by the end of October.
Well, overall, this deal, this preliminary deal, should come as a relief to South Korea, because at this time there's not a lot going on or going well for the government of President Moon Jae-in. And I'm not talking about inter-Korean relations at all. I'm talking about the economy. Right now, the stock market has been performing poorly. Exports are down, have taken a major hit, and GDP growth has slowed as well. A lot of that has to do with the protracted trade war between China and the United States. So for South Korea to be able to sign this deal with the UK, regardless of the Brexit outcome, is a positive thing. This is a deal they signed in 2011 with the EU, and every year since, trade has increased between the two countries. It has been good in particular for the automobile industry. South Korean exports of cars and auto parts to the UK, ships as well, and some aircraft parts have been some of the major exports. Last year, South Korean exports to the UK totaled about $6.5 billion. And that was about 1.5% of South Korea's overall export volume. So, yes, definitely a positive sign, but I mentioned the trade war between China and the United States, which ultimately will have a greater bearing on the future of South Korea's economy, in particular the tech sector. South Korean conglomerates like Samsung, SK Hynix shipping parts to China, and ultimately a lot of those parts going on to the United States. So they're caught in the crosshairs of this spat between Washington and Beijing, and until that gets sorted out, the economy is going to continue to face serious concerns here in South Korea.